Our next topic is ICO 2.0, disrupting fundraising with equity topics. Tokens, sorry, my mistake. The question is, especially with trends these days that we see lots of scams happening in crypto, is a crucial one, which is how can startups raise funds on a blockchain in a legal way? And our next session will focus both on the big picture of this topic, addressing also the question of how do different countries deal with the current situation, both the trend and the scams, and from the big picture also move into practice, what you can take away from it. Our next speaker, Ula Lachowitz, is going to talk about it, and she's been working more than a decade in the startup industry and with startups. In a team member, like helping them build up, mostly in fintech. She's currently with a German startup called New Fund, based in Berlin, and it's a platform for fundraising on blockchain that matches investors and startups also off the chain. She's leading a marketing team there, and she will share her insights based on what they do. So please welcome on stage, a warm welcome, Ula.
Thank you. Thank you for a nice welcome, and I'm really happy to be at Pioneers, because I really strongly believe that this is the place to be if you want to talk about innovations. And I would like to tell you today about how to finance your project on blockchain. But before we're going to get to the point, I would like to focus a little bit on a topic that I think everyone who is watching the crypto space is commenting or at least doubting a lot. And even yesterday on the main stage, I heard actually the discussion about crypto speculations. But actually, the point is, I'm really curious why everyone is afraid of crypto speculations, or generally in market speculations. Because speculations actually plays a quite crucial role in market growth, on economic growth. And in a very strange way, actually, innovations always drive speculations. So if there is something new on the market, it doesn't need to be blockchain, it doesn't need to be cryptocurrencies. There is always a gap in the regulatory, in the law, or generally in social acceptance. And the point is, there is a moment when those bad actors are coming, or speculators are coming. And of course, they use the gap in legal and regulatory to gain some, short-term profit. And in short term, actually, speculations definitely harm innovations. But actually, in long term, they do something good. So all those speculations, or the crypto speculations, and even these ICO scams, reached a lot of media. And finally, the blockchain, finally the cryptocurrencies were in the mainstream. And actually, that indicates that the innovation is happening. But we need to think maybe, or be more realistic, what is happening. So how, let's say, the regulatory or how the financial market reacts on crypto speculations. And generally, let's say, the financial market treats cryptocurrencies or blockchain at least with suspicious. And they are using different kind of reason why they do that. But I really don't believe that they really take care of the security of investors or consumers. What they do, they really see huge disruption that is coming from blockchain. Because suddenly, everyone can be investor. So there are no more privileges. There is not, investment is not dedicated only to accredited investors. Every one of you could invest right now. And what is all about? What is the problem with those regulations with the financial market? And it's all about jurisdictional competition. And jurisdictional competition is simply, there are always some countries who try to protect their market. And they use the law as a tool to make it more difficult for newcomers, for innovation to enter the market. But on the other side, there are some countries who see innovation as a chance to take their economy to the next level. And those countries or those regulatories are more willing to adopt the law and adapt themselves to just like to invite innovations in their market. And of course, that differs country by country. But because we are in Europe, I would like to give you some examples from our continent. So, for example, there's United Kingdom. They were quite conservative in terms of cryptocurrencies. But actually, last month, the junior finance minister of United Kingdom announced that the government will take an extra effort to research the potential risk that that cryptocurrencies like bitcoins can make. And they do it because they believe UK is the best country for the fintech, and they will try to keep it as such. And maybe it doesn't sound too positive, but at least they took the first step toward cryptocurrencies. Then we have some countries like Germany, and I would say European Union, because the voice is quite similar. And at Neufund, we are based in Berlin, so we know that actually German market is not bad, actually, for cryptocurrencies. They're even more into progressive way. The finance authorities, BaFin and regulators are more willing to discuss the issues, more willing to understand actually how the blockchain can change the economy. And they are constantly asking some questions and try to understand the situation. And then on the other side of the bar, we have very progressive countries like Malta. And Malta, maybe small island, but actually they have, huge plan to become a blockchain island. And in last month, they introduced, or they welcomed 3 huge crypto exchanges, Binance, OKX, and BitBay. So they are right now relocating to Malta. And at Neufund, we are also involved in discussion with Malta authorities and regulatory, and we see actually huge determination and huge willing to understand how blockchain can take their economy to the next level. And actually, they are really progressive, and everything is happening right now. But why you as a startup should take care of that? Why is it important? I think it all goes to the question, how do you raise funds right now? So you can go to the VCs. So it's more, let's say, more traditional way. And then you're going to be, unfortunately, judged by investor. Either you are disruptive enough, or maybe you're disruptive not too much, so maybe you don't fit to their standards. Or you can ignore investors and go and run your ICO campaign to go to the blockchain. But let's have a look closer to those 2 types of raising your funds. So we have VC rounds and we have ICOs, or more general blockchain fundraising. So if you decide to go with VC rounds, and let's assume that you already have a network, there is a lot of pitching, there is a lot of negotiations. You need at least 6 months to close the VC rounds. On the other hand, if you decide to go with a blockchain and you issue your tokens already represent your offer, and it's take it or leave it. There is no negotiations here. If you decide to go with the VC round, once again, then even you have amazing supportive community, you are somehow actually limited to the VC or the financial world. On the other hand, if you go to the blockchain and you have your ICO campaign, then everyone can be your investor, right? Your community, your friends, your neighbors. Another thing about the VC round is the budget. And think about lawyers' costs. The VC round is not a cheap thing. On the blockchain, for example, there is no middleman. There is no provision to be charged. The fourth thing is a little bit location limitation. So if you do a VC round, you need to go investor by investor. You need to meet them in person. Then there is a syndicate building, and some investor doesn't want to work with another investor. So there is like a lot of actually manual work, off-chain meetings, and a lot of discussions again. And blockchain fundraising, on the other hand, is cross-border by default. So you don't need to meet your investor person by person. And the last thing is money, or let's say liquidity. If you're a successful startup, you still need to wait years to sell your shares. So you are rich, but not yet. On the other hand, in blockchain fundraising, your tokens are traded on crypto exchanges from day one if you want to. But if, let's say blockchain fundraising is so good, what are those problems with regulatories? What is it all about? And it's all about type of tokens. So all ICOs that were done so far were issuing utility tokens. And utility tokens are like kind of vouchers. So so it's just like those ICOs were more like a crowdfunding campaign. We are buying the promise that the product or service is going to be released. If it won't be released, then actually you can blame only yourself. The second thing is, if the founder will collect money and run away, like it happens several times in those ICO scams, you cannot go to the court and you cannot ask the judge to read the smart contract. It won't going to happen. But if we treat tokens more like shares that we know from the traditional financial market, it means that they need to be regulated. And if we treat ICO more like private or public investment, it means that it's regulated too. So what we observe right now is actually the second wave of ICOs and changing, going from utility tokens to equity tokens. And what are equity tokens? So first of all, they are legally binding security tokens. So they are kind of securities that that gives you rights, shareholders' rights. Second thing, they are universal tokens, so they can represent ownership on any kind of network or business. And the last thing is they are kind of shares in a classic business meaning. So it means if they're like shares, if you issue tokens, it means you need to fill in the prospectus, and you need to give token holders shareholders' rights. But you may think how to do this equity token offering, if we call it that way, or ICO 2.0. How does it work? So simply, you take your shares, you turn them into tokens, and issue on blockchain. And in this way, equity token offering is kind of investment hybrid, taking advantages from ICO, IPO, and VC round. So we can even call it quasi-IPO on blockchain. The good thing about equity token offering is every company can tokenize shares. It could be blockchain company, but could be off-chain company as well. And then also everyone can participate in investment. So it could be VC from Tokyo, but it could be every one of you. It could be even your 85-year-old grandma. There is no ticket size limitation. And the last thing is actually every company, incorporated entity worldwide can do it. And I think the last thing that is important for you is, can you do ETO right now? So can you do equity token fund offering right now? And actually, you can. So last year, at the end of last year, Neufund raised equivalent of 12 million euros that are dedicated for futures ETOs. And actually, this week, on Tuesday, we opened registration and verification for all those investors who committed. And soon, new investors can join. Actually, they can join as well right now. And right now, there is the moment when the first company is preparing for the ETO. So we're gonna see the first use cases. But what are the benefits of doing ETO? Because it's important actually for both investors and for startups. So first of all, everyone can be an investor. And it means that if you're a startup want to do ETO, you can invite your VCs, you can invite your community, and you can invite your friends as well. So we introduced something that we called Neufund Wallet. And it has, it gives you experience of creating your email account. It's super, super easy, so everyone can become an investor. Second very important thing is ETO is legal and compliant. And we are running under the German law. Right. So the security and the legality is super important. And what we do, we ask every investor and every company to go through KYC process, so verification process. And this is important to protect both investors and companies and to avoid these ICO scams that we've seen last year so much. And the last thing is it's super safe. So if you come from the blockchain side, you can register with your external wallet like Parity, NanoLedger, MetaMask, and Mist, and so on. So it's super safe. I will not maybe spend too much time on pitching the product because it's not the point. You can go to the website. You can ask me some questions later. But what I'd like to point today is what we observe in this fundraising space. It's huge disruption. That's why all those speculations, that's why all those misunderstandings, those difficulties. But actually, this disruption is led by very important democratization value that we really believe in, that everyone should have right to invest. But actually, everyone should have right to invest in a legal and secure way. Thank you.
So, although we're almost out of time, but we have one question here. I think we have time enough for that. Is blockchain and cryptocurrency market still growing? Usually when something is too mainstream, it means the growth already stops.
I think there is a moment, actually, yeah, it's growing, and maybe it stops, but I wouldn't maybe say it stops. It became more mature, and it will become more regulated, and finally we'll see more use cases, because so far we're seeing, okay, there's something happening, but if you think about any product that is on blockchain, then we have actually CryptoKitties so far. So kind of a little bit maybe jokes, maybe it's good for the community, but it's not a real, I mean, it's a real product, but it's nothing serious. So if it stops, I think it's a moment to grow up and do something serious. So I wouldn't say that it's really bad for the market.
All right, time is up. Olo, thank you very much.
Thank you.